I finally broke free of my manipulative and cheating girlfriend, Part 1. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss another cheating story goes live. This is my M24 story. It's a long one, so be ready for a ride. I just recently broke up with my girlfriend, F20, of 2.5 years this past week. It was terrible and I was so miserable through all of it. The first year was great. We were in love and it seemed great. Once the first year went through on our first year anniversary, this is when it all started to get terrible. I had known this girl for almost 7 years and now it's been 10. She was one of my closest friends. We met at a church youth group and have pretty much stayed friends ever since. There was about a 2-year period where we didn't really talk that much, but then one day we just started talking regularly again and she seemed to have changed a lot and I started to see her in a different way. She had a crush on me from the moment she met me. Ever since we have been pretty much best friends. The reason I stayed with her this long was pretty much the same as everyone else. I thought I could change her or that she would change herself. However, that never happened. This is what happened. I'm not telling my story for pity or for validation. She still claims she didn't do anything wrong and we just weren't compatible, but I'll get more into that later. I know she destroyed me. I'm telling you this story so that anyone going through the same thing or similar knows that there is a way out and that you can survive and thrive, but you need to get out of those situations any way you can. 1. A few months before our first year, she has flat out told me I'm ugly, dumb, the worst she has been with for no reason at all. Or if there was a reason, she refused to tell me what it was when I would ask her. I would always ask, is there anything I'm doing that is hurting you or that I can do better? And at this point she would just say, no baby, you're amazing. 2. Our 1-year anniversary. Our 1-year anniversary was back in September. A bit of backstory before this part can truly start was that I was going to college to become a math teacher. I was in my final semester, which was student teaching. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's pretty much I go to a public school and be a teacher's assistant until I slowly start taking over the classroom myself until I am fully the teacher. Now this was the single most horrible experience of my life. I had wanted to be a teacher so badly, but the teacher who was in charge of me was absolutely terrible. She verbally abused me every day and had the most impossible standards imaginable and blamed me when I didn't reach them. I was there for about 6 weeks. Every day I went home crying, I stopped eating, and I stopped sleeping. Now despite all of this I wasn't going to give up. I was going to finish. But before I could, my teacher wrote a bad review about how bad I was doing, compared to her standards, which even then what she said wasn't true, and they ended up pulling me from my placement without any consideration for what I went through. So my entire future just went up in smoke. Now I know you're wondering what this has to do with my girlfriend. Now our 1 year happened to land on a Tuesday. Of course, most of it say being a weekday, I was going to be in school. So I told her, instead of trying to make that day work, why don't we just try to aim for either the weekend before or the weekend after to do things? She completely agreed. And we never made plans beyond that. So the day of our 1 year comes around, and after I got pulled from my student teaching, I went to my family's, which was an hour away. Because I needed time. I was so emotionally destroyed because of everything I went through and the fact that I felt like a complete failure. Well, she all of a sudden comes up and is like, you should come see and do our 1 year today. Now here is my reasoning of why I said I couldn't. 1. My family already knew I was staying that night and I didn't want to leave right then and there. 2. I was going home the very next day. And I told her that I had no problem doing something with her tomorrow. 3. I didn't have gas money to drive an hour back, do whatever she wanted to do. Then drive back only to go home tomorrow. But she offered gas money, but I also drive a 20-year-old car and didn't want to put more mileage on it than I had to. 4. It was already 2 to 3 p.m. when she brought this up. 5. We didn't make plans on that day to start with, but she was acting like we did. 6. I was still emotionally compromised and didn't really want to do that particular day. After explaining all of this, she proceeds to throw a complete tantrum saying how I don't love her and how this isn't important to me because I'm not dropping everything for her and all that stuff. Now I know this looks kind of bad to some people and I have been told I was cruel for not wanting to spend my 1 year with her. But at the time I was still going through so much, I practically begged her if I could just stay that day and then go tomorrow because I needed that time still just to breathe. I get where she was coming from because it was our first anniversary, but again, she didn't even think about it until 2 to 3 that day anyway. 3. Becoming cold. She started to become cold and mean. I couldn't joke with her anymore. Every time I do, the same way I did with everyone else in my life, she throws a fit. This is a conversation we had a while after our 1 year in a mall. Hey, this GameStop used to have a movie place right before it closed down, right? I ask. No, there was an empty store and then it was the movie place. She replies, nah, I'm pretty sure it was next to it. But I don't know. Obvious sarcasm and smiling at her. Oh my god, whatever, I don't see why you make a big deal out of this crap. Exclamation mark. She yells at me in front of everyone in the mall and storms out. She said I always joke too far. But things like this didn't seem too far. She then complained when I didn't joke with her because she wanted me to, and I've told her how that puts me in a hard situation because whenever I do joke with her she gets upset like this. The second part of her growing cold is that she always talks to me in a nasty tone. This was a conversation we had one night. I called her, she answered. What? She starts off with, hey, are we going to church tomorrow or no? I told you already that I wasn't. The last time we talked you said you didn't know. Yeah, well, if I was going then I would have told you. All of this is in a very condescending and mean tone. BTW, okay, I didn't know if you'd forgotten or not, sorry for bothering you, good night. She immediately hung up. There had been this constant aggravation with her. I couldn't do anything without her yelling or being emotionally abusive towards me. 4. She begged and tried to manipulate me for a time to get engaged to her. This one is one of the worst times in our relationship. We were in the car one day and we were talking and the idea of getting engaged got brought up. I merely said this, I feel like we are close to getting engaged. But there are some things I think we both need to work on before we are ready. That was all. She proceeded to have a mental breakdown saying how I don't want to get engaged to her. How it was stupid of me to say that and how I completely crushed her. I wanted to be honest about where we were in this relationship, but she apparently couldn't handle that. So I apologized and we talked more about it. She still didn't understand what I was trying to say and was still on the idea that I didn't want to be engaged to her even when that was nowhere near what I said. She proceeds to try to manipulate me into getting engaged to her. Every favor I ask of her she's like, get engaged to me, then I will, even showing affection in public. I'd try to kiss her and she would say no kisses until you propose. And this wasn't in a cute little joking flirting way, this was out of anger and rage. This leads into the next part. 5. She hits me during Christmas in front of my whole family. It isn't as bad as it sounds, but physical abuse is still physical abuse. My family has this big yearly celebration on Christmas and she of course was invited. She had wanted me to leave my family Christmas Eve night. I already made plans with my family to go spend at her house because I need to make up for hurting her about what I said about getting engaged, and I said no. My family I hadn't seen in months and I needed time with them, and it's not like she was doing anything for Christmas. She shows up still being completely emotionless because of how hurt she says I hurt her and the fact I won't go over. Sits down on the couch, stares off, has an absolutely mean angry look, and doesn't move. Period. Doesn't make an effort to do anything or talk to anyone. She still to this day blames me for it. There are more to come. Find out the update of this story, check our channel or the description. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for any future cheating stories.